Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the City of Lacombe Council for Monday, March 24th. It is 5:30 p.m. I will call the meeting to order. Council, you've got the consent agenda before you. Any items there for discussion? Councilor Dallas.
Thank you, Mayor PC. They're, I guess, both the same items, so it's the CAO report as well as the letter from the Minister of Environment and Protected Areas.
Very good. Thank you. Ready? Anyone else? Councilor Dallas.
Thank you. If no one else has anything, I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as amended.
Appreciate that. With the lights on, so please go ahead and vote. And it's voted in favor unanimously. With respect to the overall agenda. Councilor Dallas.
Thank you, Mayor PC. I'll make the motion to accept the agenda as amended.
Appreciate that. I'm sorry I didn't speak present. I thought maybe you did have a commissioner change. I would like for us to consider some reordering. As you can, the agenda this evening is there are several public hearings, and in order to accommodate them and keep staffing and extra more time, I would like for us to consider going to under public hearings. Let's see here, in 5.1 first, and then directly into requests for decision to item 6.1, and then back to public hearings for 5.2 and 5.3, and 5.4. No, I'm sorry, it's those two, 5.2 and 5.3, and then back to requests for decisions, item 6.2, 3, and 4. Return yet again for another public hearing, item 5.4, and then continue on with regular numbering. So I did not choose to renumber each and every one of those, hoping that council will undertake those changes in order for consideration. Do you have any questions or concerns with that? Councilor Dallas, would you care to reword your voting?
Yes, thank you. With the additional changes, I would like to make the motion to accept the agenda as amended with recommended changes.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Any other input? So please go ahead and vote. And I don't see that in favor as well. So there was a couple of items that were removed from the consent agenda. Councilor Dallas, was it specifically to do with the letter from Minister Schultz, the Minister of Environment and Protected Areas?
Yes, that's correct.
Very good. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Tracy. I just thought they were of significant importance based on the investment in our community. And thank you to our staff that applied for this grant and putting the work to get us there. And then thank you to the Alberta province for approving that. There is also a note that the city will still be paying 30% of it based on this information. And so it is not a small amount that the city's contributing either. But there will be long-lasting positive benefits is my hope from this. So thank you to everyone involved for that. And that's just basically my comments on both the CAO report as well as the letter from the ministry.
Perfect. Thank you for highlighting that. That's one of the great for its work in the city. We get talented individuals like from our engineering department, Amber Mitchell, to produce documents like that and apply for grants. And then we get to take the accolades for it and receive the $1.9 million. This, as you said, very important community. Because pass on some of our, get rid of some of the burden on our immediate taxpayers, although it does all come out of the same pocket eventually. But that's some important work. So we look forward one day to having some additional development maybe in the area, and also to stabilize that area for future travel extensions and that type of thing. So looking forward to that. And unless there's another date change, I think that I will be up at the legislature speaking to that very item on Thursday. So thank you for highlighting that. Anyone else? Councilor Connick was poised there, but he's not. We do, but no one's made one yet. Councilor Connick.
I thought I heard. Never mind. Also, I'm going to accept the CEO's report and the letter from Minister of Environment and Information. Thank you.
Appreciate that. I'd love to mind if you had an update. Okay. Well, that's being taken care of. The electronic portion of that is going to our open forum, and say the open forum is to provide that citizens and bears with an opportunity to ask questions on matters of public interest, concern during a regular council meeting. Council may allow a person to make a presentation or ask a question of council. However, questions may not be necessary the answer. A reminder: the open forum process is the presentations or questions to council are to be no longer than 5 minutes in length. This is inclusive of time required to answer questions from council. Responses may be provided to any member of council or administration present, or the presentation may simply be received as information. Council may request administration for additional information before responding, as always, and a response from a member of council or administration during one of these events may not necessarily represent the opinion of council as a whole. Open forum presentations or questions recorded in the minutes of the meeting. And just things to keep in mind as we proceed. With respect to last two items from the consent agenda, to acknowledge the receipt of those in the council, please go ahead and vote. Is in favor unanimously as well. Thanks, everyone. Let's take us down to the open forum portion of the evening. 3.1. We have a request to review an order to remedy by Mr. Ian Brown. Is Mr. Brown with us this evening? Welcome, sir. And yeah, let's have you once again repeat shortly into the microphone for the benefit of those watching at home and behind you, and just push the button and the red light should come on. You're live, and the floor is yours.
My name is Ian Brown. Mr. Mayor, councilors, thank you for your time. For the record of this review, order number 003953, I had requested a copy of the complaint as well as Officer Barrington to be present to answer any questions I may have relating to this order. Today, I have been informed that these requests were granted. I made a request to review this order due to the fact that the pictures submitted by Officer Barrington do not justify the work. And I outlined this on my February 14th request for the review. The pictures I submitted show 2 bags of recycling bottles, potted plants, for winter, cover barbecue and winterized plants. There's three boxes or three cardboard boxes in a stack, and thus it fails to satisfy even a minimum standard for the definition of an accumulation of garbage. My contention is that this order was an abusive process and not the first time relating to this property. I haven't requested a review in the past, but at some point you have to say, well, this keeps on going for this property, so I requested a review. I was under the impression that Section 547 of the Municipal Government Act allowed more than just a 5-minute stance to do the presentation and any discussion. I believe that such a restriction is insufficient for a review on most cases of orders and may in fact hinder the democratic process that is granted under Section 547. I don't know if any of the councillors have a chance to review that order, to take a look at what I have presented. In that case, thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank you. Councillor Hibbs.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. Literally, that was going to be my question about this. It was a question about the process. So we have been requested a review of the order. We don't actually have the order to review, period. So that's kind of a moot point. But going for process, this isn't something that's actually outlined in our procedural bylaw. I did scour the MGA and it does not really give much for guidelines. It does say that a review by council is definitely within your right, but that is to confirm, vary, substitute, or cancel the order. Some of the requests that you have asked for here, I would say that there is not evidence for that to be your right. For example, the opportunity to question the officer or even to have a copy of the complaint. I don't think are necessarily within your rights, but regardless, I think that this is, I would agree that this actually is not the appropriate time or place to be doing a review. If we're going to do this, I think we need to do it properly so that we have all the proper documentation. It would be my recommendation that we would schedule this for another council meeting. I don't think obviously we can do that today. We have the requisite information, but I guess my only comment, and forgive me for being maybe a little bit out of line on this one, but I'm a little bit surprised this is how it even came to be. So I guess my question would be to administration, next steps.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I understand the request for the order. Did you never receive a copy of the?
Yes, I received a copy, and the accompanying pictures with it failed to show that there was even a need for an order. It was an unnecessary process, and I believe that council needed to review it, because if you have municipal bylaw officers issuing orders that don't have a basis, then you're wasting your taxpayers' time and money dealing with it, as well as your municipal bylaw officers. And when I was informed that I was going to be presenting at this open forum, I had questioned, how do you do a review in 5 minutes? And obviously, the councillor has indicated that you haven't been prepared for it. And so I think that speaks to a breakdown in the system.
Okay, I can assure you there is no breakdown in the system. Council is fully prepared for what they need to be prepared for. And it was not for a review. It was for an open forum, which was clearly outlined before we started, and to you giving this information to us. This is not a review. This is an open forum. Director Piche, would you care to elaborate, please?
In terms of next steps, if council does want to have RFD of the or request for decision of the order, we can provide more information to council with all of the information from Officer Barrington, and bring that to council at a later date, and have Mr. Brown be present at that same time. So much.
Very good. And then that would be considered the review there.
I would say yes.
Thank you. What else? Very good. Ms. Brown, we appreciate you bringing it to our attention. Having some further deliberation on it, and if there is direction from council, you will certainly be contacted by administration for the appropriate basic review. And as was outlined, I understand that you're fully within your rights to be present for it. So that will certainly be the way that we have. Okay.
Thank you very much, and I agree that this wasn't the forum for it, and I did question when they put it into this. So I apologize that the process wasted all of our time. Thank you.
Thank you. It be clear the council member has the ability to make a motion should they so choose, or we can, there's no one time limit that we don't meet now, or just whatever you see fit. So, Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. I'm not quite sure on the right wording for this because of course it's a little bit new. But I do believe that we should do a proper review that we've been requested for. It is in the MGA. So again, I'm not really quite sure what the right wording is, but I would move that council direct administration to schedule a formal review of the matter brought to us in the public forum.
Very good. So that request is for the there to review the order direction by conventions.
Very much, yes, thank you.
I'll just confirm the wording on the motion. It's to council requests administration return the matter to council with a supporting request for decision on the request to review the order to eliminate controversy.
Couldn't have said it better. Thank you.
I just sent it to
Let's do Mr. Comment a moment to enter that into our sheet. Go thereafter. Very good. I think that is true of our machines now. We've got a couple lights on. First up was Councilor Dallas.
Thank you, Increasing. I guess in regards to this, I'm curious if we're within the 14-day time limit. Okay, so that's all my questions. Thank you.
Councilor Kutcher.
Thanks, Mayor Creasy. I was just looking at the MGA too, but I'm not seeing the wrong zone.
547.
Okay, I was in 347. Okay, because it was about accidents. Wondering. Okay, thank you.
I called you Director Piche earlier, just for the purpose of seeing you're the acting CAO. Piche, go ahead.
That's more than fair. Thank you, Mayor Creasy. In response to Councilor Dallas's question there about the 14 days, Mr. Brown did respond to the city within 14 days of the time of getting the order. The time to deal with it could be extended based on schedules.
Appreciate that clarification. Certainly there wasn't the formal indication council works this evening as well. Excuse me. First order input, we need to proceed to vote, please. Very good. I believe that was unanimously in favor. Let's review our RFP. So in that case, staff will definitely be contacting Mr. Brown, would you like, sorry, I didn't realize you said, oh, very good. The next item up here under presentations, we have bills 33 and 34. I believe that Manager Reed will kick things off the reduction by SEAC, which is bill 33.
Good evening. Introduced in 1995, Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Act, also known as FOIA, has not been significantly updated since the early 2000s. To adapt to the rapidly expanding technology world, Bill 33 and Bill 34 were introduced in February 2004. These two bills will replace the outdated FOIA Act, providing a modernized version of how a public body can provide access to information, privacy, and the Data Technology Services Department provides privacy management to the city of Wautoma through additional commissions. The public sector privacy legislation, local government bodies, including regional service commissions, police services, police commissions, each is considered a separate law. Implementing the new legislation will result in changes in every department of the state. So there's further wrong state.
Thank you. So some key changes to legislation. Timelines are being changed to allow more time for requests, responses, and communities by changing calendar dates to business dates. Privacy protection is a priority, and fines have been adjusted along with new categories of offenses for non-following regulations. If a privacy breach occurs, it is now mandatory to report it to the affected party in the Office of the Information and Privacy Commissioner and the Minister of Technology and Innovation. Reporting to the Minister is new. Data handling has also received an update. New definitions have been listed along with new rules. These changes can be found in the new acts. And two major changes are the mandatory establishment of privacy management programs and privacy impact assessments. Privacy management program requires that a public body have documented policies and procedures appropriate to the volume and sensitivity of the personal information it handles. Privacy impact assessments, also known as PIAs, are now mandatory in certain circumstances. The Privacy Commissioner may also request a copy of a PIA at any time. The Privacy Management Program, also known as PMT, is a set of policies and procedures that help a public body ensure compliance with legislation. With the mandatory addition of the PMT, a public body has up to 1 year to prepare and implement its privacy management program. A requirement for PIAs is that they identify the risks related to how personal information is collected, used, and disclosed by the public body. They assist with ensuring proper compliance with privacy laws and reduce the risk and security threats to individuals' personal privacy.
So some key operational in the city. There are several operational impacts to consider with the implementation of these changes. Training capacity building, as well as updating existing material, is a step that must be taken. Privacy training will be provided for all staff, tailored to suit their job. Council, commissions, boards, and committees will require new training material that will be developed to teach the new changes. We will remove references to the from the existing bylaws, policies, templates, and any other material. The city has 1 year to comply with the requirements, and there will be updates, bylaws, policies, which will be brought back to council. Privacy impact assessments will be developed.
So impact assessments There are no major changes to how citizens will request access to information. For now, the fees set by the legislation have not changed. Regulations for these are still being drafted by the province. The request form to access information will be updated. It is available on the city's website and on Friday at City Hall. The timelines for processing and responding to an access request will change from calendar days to business days, as stated earlier. So further information on this topic is available from various sources, and specific questions can be brought to administration. Thank you for your time and for allowing us to update you on these changes. Do you have any questions?
Thank you for that update. Just one question. So our current bylaws reference FOIP.
So we do have a one bylaw of the city, there's bylaw 402. So that bylaw will need to be either amended or repealed. For the bylaw, essentially states that the chief administrative officer is going to be the head of a public body according to the FOIP Act. This information is also found in the CA bylaw. So there's not a lot of other meat to this FOIP bylaw.
And does the name of the new FOIP regulations change?
Yes.
Okay.
So FOIP, the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, will be replaced with the Protection of Privacy Act and the Access to Information.
Okay, thank you. That was what I appreciate that. That in fact that does call for some changes in our thinking if the FOIP Act is updated, we're still talking about FOIP, we're still referencing that. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Thank you. Councillor Lucero.
Thanks, Mayor Creasy. So the operational impacts, does your department or staff do you have the capacity to do all this training? Or first of all, I should say develop the material, because wouldn't that be great if you keep them? I'm guessing not. But the material has to be developed and then the training has to happen. Do you have the capacity?
Yes, we do have do it internally. We have 2 years to do it. Place that we're going to work with. Working with each department is always tricky to try to pay the information. But yes, we do have
You have a motion for comment, so appreciate that update. Thank you. Minutes here to waste. Yeah, we appreciate you doing news for us. Actually, I've got one piece of news. I'd like to congratulate Mayor Dooley on her new arrival. I understand that both are healthy and doing well, and we certainly wish for the best. And I look forward to a new little letter. Well, Officer Kirk, you're doing the first up for a public hearing, so I mean, make yourself at home, and you just got shortly here. Found by the NJ not to start until 6 p.m. So we're getting close. I'd be happy to know it's just before public hearing tonight. If you won't have to hear it. Should refer. Yeah. Very good. At 6 p.m. to start. As mayor, I declare the statutory public hearing for bylaw 400.69 open, and that this hearing is held pursuant to sections 7, 8, 230, 606, 640, and 692 of the Municipal Government Act 2000 as amended, and requests our legislative coordinator to confirm the purpose of this public hearing, that the statutory public hearing notice was in fact advertised as required by the city advertising bylaw, and that any written submissions received but not included in the public hearing agenda package are now read in the record. Coordinator Vogel.
Thank you, Christine Council. The purpose of this public hearing is to provide an opportunity for the general public to offer input on the proposed amendment to bylaw 400.69, which received its first reading on February 10, 2025. Bylaw 400.69 seeks to amend Schedule A of the land use bylaw 400. If approved, bylaw 400.69 will amend Schedule A of the LUD's red tape reduction by decreasing permit processing timelines and providing developer flexibility. In accordance with the city's advertising bylaw 42 in section 606 MGA, regarding advertising requirements, a public hearing was published under the code in the Macomb Express on Thursday, February 27th and March 6, 2025, as well on the city website as indicated in the agenda package. Mayor Christine Council, no written submissions were received, and the city received no registrations from the members of the public.
Thank you. I remind all persons giving oral presentations this evening are clearly state your name, and presentations are brief and to the point. The order for the statutory public hearing presentation will be as follows. Kick things off for development officer, Officer Kirk this evening, and then those who are in favor of bylaw 400.69, followed by those opposed, and finally the person deemed to be affected by the decision wishes to be heard. Going Officer Kirk, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Creasy and members of council. So bylaw 400.69 proposes amendments to the land use bylaw for red tape reduction. Alright, so the proposed amendments focus on altering and or reducing various land use bylaw regulations to streamline and improve administrative processes, providing additional clarity in interpreting the bylaw, promoting a development-friendly environment, and decreasing permit processing timelines. So these red tape reduction amendments are in line with the goals of the city's strategic plan. So that's specifically to create an environment conducive for investment and development. So under development clarity and flexibility, the amendments that we're proposing is to allow for a variety of landscaping ground covers, such as rocks, artificial turf, things like that. Adjust architectural standards of the downtown area redevelopment plan so that are overlaid to incorporate more than just detached dwellings, as currently the regulations all speak to just houses, and allow for zero meter rear yard setback variance on multi-attached dwellings in the R5 district. And just for clarity, this is a change from first reading, and the reason why this is being included is because this was actually approved under bylaw 400.64 in January of this year for the R4 district, and we are just recommending that it be applied as well. Under decreased permit processing timelines, so allow fascia signs to be lower than 2.5 meters above grade. Allow for accessory uses in commercial districts to be considered as permitted uses rather than discretionary. Allow for accessory buildings in the shopping center district to be considered as permitted uses rather than discretionary. And increase the amount of shipping containers allowed per hectare in industrial districts from 2 to 4. And under eliminating permit requirements, we are recommending that we add home occupation 1 as a development not requiring a development permit. So they would still require a business license, but we are recommending no development permit because essentially home occupation 1 is undetectable from the street because no clients will access the site. So there's no intensification. And we are recommending that council give second and third reading to these bylaw changes. Thank you.
Okay, that Officer Kirk. Now, anyone who wishes to speak in favor of bylaw 400.69, this is your opportunity to do so. Second call for those in favor. I've seen a bunch of movement, so I'm going to third. Thank you. Now I'll call for those opposed. To bylaw 400.69. Anyone wishing to speak? Second call. Equal number of takers. Third and final call. And now any person deemed to be affected who wishes to be heard. Opportunity to speak. Second ask. Third and final call. I declare the public hearing for bylaw 400.69 closed at 6:05 p.m. Now we'll move to request for decision item 6.1. Officer Kirk. Kick it off again.
Thank you, Chair Creasy, members of council. So yeah, just reiterate that the administration is recommending approval of 400.69 and that is available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We have had a bit of interest on CCANs in the industrial area, and the numbers from a maximum of 2 to 4. And how do we arrive at the number, or is there any overall lot requirements, size, or how does that exactly work?
Thank you, Chair Creasy. So we're recommending doubling it. That way we wouldn't be adding too many to increase the site and create clutter, but we would still be allowing flexibility to develop for some owners or CCANs without having to go through the variance process. It does depend on the size of your lot and lot coverage because they are considered to be accessory buildings. So typically, there's a certain percentage of a lot that can be covered. They're not allowed to be stacked. There is size requirements as well. So there's a whole section in the land use bylaw on the requirements for them. And the only thing we're proposing to change is to increase it from 2 to 4.
Appreciate that. Councilor Hibbs.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. Yeah, just a few questions on this one. So with regards to the landscape standards, I see that we've added a few things, but just for example, rocks. Is there a definition of decorative rocks? Because one person's decorative rock is not another. Like, you know, is washed gravel a decorative rock? Like, is there anything in our bylaw that's stopping somebody from literally putting washed gravel in their entire front yard, for example?
Thank you for that great question. So through the chair to Councillor Hibbs, there is a section on ornamental plants, ground covers, sorry, and it does speak to the difference between washed and ornamental. So that is something that would be included as part of the development officer's review to ensure we don't end up with full front yard.
Okay, thank you. And if I can continue, just a few more questions. I see that, you know, the other ground covers such as lawn, artificial turf was included. What about some of the talk that we've heard in this community about alternate covers, living covers like microcover, for example? Was that discussed? I believe that's not included in this amendment. Could you just address that, please?
Yes, absolutely. Through chair to Councillor Hibbs. So the reason why Culver is included in here is we did go through a variance process for it a couple of years ago and did a bunch of research. We did get a lot of negative comments back, and so we were considering maybe doing a pilot program and then kind of taking it back. So we're thinking maybe at the public works building, but that hasn't been actually put into motion yet. So we left that out of this amendments.
Fair enough. Thank you for that clarification. And then my final question is actually around the home occupation. So you mentioned in your presentation, a home occupation is essentially somebody's business. They run out of their home that doesn't typically have clients on site. I guess I just want further clarification. There could be a situation where somebody's running, maybe they're a developer and they're running out of their business, but maybe they're storing materials on site. They don't have a commercial property elsewhere to do that. And maybe they've got a large garage. And there is a relatively constant flow, although maybe not necessarily daily. When I was looking at some of the regulations like around that, it wasn't really clear to me kind of what the fine line is as to judging the burden on neighbors, for example. To me, that should really be what we're looking at, is how much of a burden is this placing on neighbors. You know, like if they're cutting materials, stacking materials, unloading, loading, fairly regularly in a residential area, that would be problematic for me. So I guess I worry about making a home occupation a little bit too easy. Can you just reassure me as to what the steps are so that we guarantee that it is an appropriate home occupation one and not a different destination?
Yeah, absolutely. Through the chair to Councillor Hibbs. So when we get an application for home occupation, the applicant is to tell us who they anticipate to have at the site. So if it's customers, then they would say, yes, people are coming to me right away. That triggers that it's actually a home occupation 2 and not home occupation 1. So they would have to go through that discretionary process. It could end up in the planning commission for a decision. And then for home occupation 1, there's no employees other than the occupants of the house or allowed to attend the site. So essentially there should be nobody else coming to the site to pick up materials, otherwise they would technically be deemed as a home occupation 2 and from the process.
Thank you.
So it was mentioned with ground cover Clover, I think that was, we did have one case where that was utilized in property here in the city. I was just curious if that cover is still in place.
See the chair. So they did have a letter sent to them and enforcement action to take place. They were to remove the clover within a certain time frame, and I do believe that has taken place quite some time ago. So we can double check on that. So
Thank you. Appreciate that. Councillor Armstrong.
Thanks, Mayor Creasy. I'd like to move that council do second reading to file 400.69. So
This Councillor Armstrong. Other additional concerns or questions? Please proceed to vote. With respect to second reading of bylaw 400.69, council is voted unanimously in favor of the second reading. Councillor Gullickson.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. I'll move that council resolves to consider third reading at the same meeting as second reading.
Thank you for that. Does anybody wish to speak to that item? Councillor Gullickson, or would you like to still on that floor? Okay, well, very good. Go ahead and vote. So to consider possibly third reading for 400.69, that also is unanimously in favor. Councillor Hoekstra.
thanks, Mayor Creasy. I'd like to move that council give third reading to bylaw 400.69 as amended.
Thank you. See a bunch of lights on to speak on this item either, so we will proceed to vote on third and final. Bylaw 400.69 third reading is unanimously supported as well. I go back up to public hearings. It's revision E2 for bylaw 263.7. General package. As mayor, I declare the statutory public hearing for bylaw 263.7 open, and that this hearing is held pursuant to sections 7, 8, 230, 606, and 692 of the municipal 2000 as amended, and requests our legislative coordinator to confirm the purpose of the public hearing. The statutory public hearing notice was in fact advertised as required by city's advertising bylaw, and that any written submission received but not included in the public hearing agenda package are read into the record.
Mayor Creasy and council, the purpose of this public hearing is to provide an opportunity for the general public to offer input on the proposed amendment to bylaw 263.7, which received its first reading on February 24th, 2025. Bylaw 263.7 seeks to amend bylaw 263. If approved, bylaw 263.7 will amend the southeast area structure plan by replacing with 6 future land use with the version presented in the agenda package and as after text. In accordance with the city's advertising bylaw 42, section 606 of the MGA, regarding advertising requirements, a public hearing notice was published in the Home Express on Thursday, March 6th and 13th, 2025, and on the city's website as contained in the package. Mayor Precinct Council no written submissions were received, and the city received no registrations from members of the public to speak.
Thank you. Once again, reminder to speakers to state the name and keep the presentations brief and to the point. The order will be our development officer, packet in this particular instance, followed by those in favor, then those opposed, and lastly, any person who would be affected. Director Hackett, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mayor Creasy and members of council. I am pleased to present bylaw amendment 263.7 tonight, an amendment to the Southeast Area Structure Plan. The amendment tonight will adjust map 6, which is the future land use map in the plan, and it aligns with another item on the agenda tonight, which is the Mackenzie Ranch Outline Plan amendments. As well as the land use bylaw amendment. So there'll be a series of 3 decisions tonight that do tie in with each other and are all intended to facilitate proposed development within the Mackenzie Ranch area. And representatives from the developer are here tonight. In terms of background, the City of Lacombe is currently considering proposed amendments, as I mentioned, to the outline plan, the Mackenzie Ranch outline plan, which will adjust proposed park space, reconfigure the proposed roadways, and add more residential density. So these are in the proposed outline plan amendments, but to consider those, it does require an amendment to map 6 of the Southeast Area Structure Plan. And specifically the changes to the land use, the park space in particular. The Southeast Area Structure Plan was adopted in 1999, so it's not a new plan. It was most recently amended in 2018, and it does provide general direction for planning for the southeast quadrant of Lacombe, and Mackenzie Ranch is one of the neighborhoods within the plan area. The developers or landowners within Mackenzie Ranch have brought forward some changes to that outline plan to adjust park space, to provide additional density, as I mentioned, and to adjust the roads. And because the land uses are changing, this does require an amendment to map 6. And the intent is to make that map more broad, with the details being removed from the outline or from the area structure plan level and really being brought out at the outline plan level. The existing future land use map is shown here for the Southeast Area Structure Plan, and I've just circled in red there the Mackenzie Ranch area. So you can see it's quite detailed at the local road level. I've even shows, I think, the lanes there, which are not required at the area structure level. And so the proposal here is to remove the local road pattern, adjust the North Park space, and show local parks at the outline plan level. So this is the proposed amended map shown there. In terms of public consultation, no comments were received at the date of preparing this report, but there were comments at the outline plan level. Those are on the agenda and certainly will be discussed at that item, but they can certainly be considered at this level if council has reviewed them in the agenda. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Would ask now that anybody wishing to speak in favor of bylaw 263.7. Now's your opportunity to do so. Second call for those who wish to speak in favor. Written final call. I'll ask that anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to bylaw 263.7, please come forward. Second call. Written final call. Equal number of takers I speak. Now any person needing to be affected who wishes to be heard at this time. This is your opportunity. Second call. And third and final call. Here, the public, it's now 6:19. And no one wishes to speak, so I declare the public hearing for bylaw 260.7 closed once again at 6:19. I believe right now we'll move into third public hearing for the evening, which is bylaw 500.59, the land use bylaw amendment to the Cassie Ranch Future Development District to R4 district. And in a deja vu moment, I would declare that the statutory public hearing for bylaw 400.59 is now open. And that this hearing is held pursuant to sections 7, 8, 230, 606, 640, and 692 of the Municipal Government Act 2000 as amended. And request the legislative coordinator to confirm the purpose of this public hearing, that the statutory public hearing was in fact advertised as required by the city's advertising bylaw, and that any written submissions received but not included in the public hearing agenda package are now read into the record. Coordinator Bilodeau.
Thank you, Mayor, Creasy, and Council. The purpose of this public hearing is to provide an opportunity for the public to operate on the proposed amendment to bylaw 400.59. Mr. Creasy, it is first reading on February 24th, 2025. Bylaw 400.59 seeks to amend land use bylaw 400. If approved, bylaw 400.59 will amend Schedule A of the LUB by rezoning 1.148 hectares within the southwest quarter 20-40-26 West Port Meridian from future designation FD district to residential mixed R4 district. And according to the city's advertising law, 42 in section 606 of the MGA regarding advertising requirements, public hearing notice was published in the Home Express on Thursday, March 6th and 13th, 2025, and on the city website as indicated in the agenda package. No written submissions were received, and the city received no registrations from members of the public.
Thank you. Once again, for any speakers, please do restate your name. Keep your comments to the point. The order will be our dependent officer, followed by those in favor, and those opposed. Any person deemed to be affected wishes to be heard after that. And Director.
Thank you very much, Mayor Creasy and members of council. Now presenting bylaw 400.59, which as mentioned is an amendment to the land use bylaw, also dealing with the Mackenzie Ranch area. So this bylaw proposes to redesignate 1.148 hectares of land in the southwest quarter of section 20, township 40, range 26 west of the 4th meridian from its current designation, which is future designation for future development, to our R4 district, which is a medium density residential mixed district. And this is to facilitate proposed development in the Mackenzie Ranch area. So R4 allows a range of permitted and discretionary uses under our land use bylaw, including multi-attached housing, semi-detached housing, and multiple housing development. Now, the applicant has indicated an intent to construct multi-attached housing, townhouses, but the specific development type and design, of course, would be determined at the development permit stage. And tonight, bylaw 400.59 is looking strictly at the zoning as opposed to the style of the housing development. In terms of background, this amendment is part of a series of plan changes to allow for new development in the Mackenzie Ranch area. I have a little bit of deja vu here saying the same thing over tonight too, related to proposed amendments in the Mackenzie Ranch outline plan. So the amendment to the Southeast Area Structure Plan to map 6 and a reconfigured outline plan would need to be approved prior to proceeding with final reading of bylaw 400.59. The amendment area for this rezoning is shown there, outlined in kind of that yellow gold color. And shown here on the air photo as well as the best I could there with the red outline. So it is just to the east of existing development in the Mackenzie Ranch area. And the current outline plan does show this block of land as R1C. That is under an old land use bylaw, bylaw 300. That is now the equivalent to R1 in our current bylaw. But the outline plan, as you are aware, is almost 25 or more than 25 years old. And so an outline plan amendment is being considered also on tonight's agenda, and that's required before rezoning this to R4. But this is what is shown in the current plan at this time. The surrounding zoning in Mackenzie Ranch is really diverse. So there's a little bit of many kinds of residential development. And I'm just trying to show here on this map the blend. The lightest yellow there is our R1, our lowest density zoning. The R1N is the bright yellow, and so that's the lower density narrow lots. So there's some of that in this area as well. R2 is one of our medium density for semi-detached developments. So that is across the street on Homestead, across the way on the other side of Homestead Road. There is some existing R4 in Mackenzie Ranch as well. That's kind of the orange color there. And then there's some R5 sites, which are developed apartment sites there to the south, as well as in that darkest orange color, as well as one to the north is yet developed. And there's also R3, which is our manufactured housing development in this area. And then the land surrounding the parcel tonight being considered for rezoning is our future development. So it's quite a mixed area. In terms of public consultation, no comments were received on bylaw 400.59. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of bylaw 400.59? That was your opportunity. Second call for those in favor. Final call. Now for those who are opposed to bylaw 400.59, step forward. Second call. Take yourself call third time. You. Now any person deemed to be affected who wishes to be heard. What's your opportunity to speak? Finally, take you on with your offer.
Members of council, thank you.
Sorry to interrupt. Your machine there. It's now very good. Go ahead.
Your worship, members of council, thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of this application. My name is Gordon Lau. I'm actually Stantec Consulting here on behalf of the developer and owners group. My comments are a little bit related to this amendment itself, but also the actual line plan decision, which we brought to council here later tonight. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak about it, but I also want to thank the administration in terms of the process that has occurred to date. Anytime that we open one of these older outline plans and planning documents, there's a lot to consider. There are decisions that were made in the past, areas that's been developed already, people that's been living in the community for a number of years, and also new standards and policies that the city may have. The amendments that are being brought forward are 100% necessary to reflect the current market trend, affordability, housing types, and then also just the general business of land development itself. The Mackenzie Ranch Amendment actually started about a year ago, and I bring that timeline up, not as it's taken so long, but I really want to identify the process that has gone through it since the original submission of the plan itself. The concept plan itself has actually changed quite a bit. We had completed an open house, which then brought in some of those public comments that we had to address. Through that, we've had to do a transportation impact assessment and also a transportation impact assessment revision, actually, to further highlight some of these comments that were brought up. And all of that has really taken around like 11 months for us to get into a position where it's comfortable to bring the council for a decision. In supporting the application itself, as I mentioned, that transportation impact assessment was completed and resulted in a concept plan change itself, and really number one, acknowledged the public comments, but number two, it also addressed it and revised the concept plan where necessary. And the results of that effort, number one, is the better understanding of the off-site road conditions, and two, the hierarchies of the roadways themselves. Number two is the redesign of the portion of the plan to minimize that dependency on Mackenzie Avenue, where we did hear some of those comments, challenges that people were having. And then number three is to provide a timeline to administration and to the community itself as to when some of these roadway improvements may happen and when some of those offset improvements may happen. We believe that the plan presented does address both the city's comments and the public's comments, and I hope that is reflected in what's been submitted. And lastly, I do want to point out some of the concerns is that this development is not going to happen overnight. I'd say there's probably about 45% left of the community to develop, and this will take time, as it has taken to get to this point. And what we hope is that as that recognized, what we're going to see is year after year, hopefully the developer chomps away at bits and parts of it, right? A couple acres here. You know, I want to say that this is going to take no time to finish up, but that's just not the reality of where the market is. So some of these concerns where, you know, instantly after approval that the roadway is going to get overpassed, or what about school sites, what about parks and amenities, these will take time to build out. And more importantly, these things are going to build up in coordination with the South Area Structure Plan that was just presented by Director. Is the fact that as the South area improves as a whole, these four quarter sections, the roadways will improve and the transportation network will improve as a whole. The park systems will get more robust, not just at Mackenzie Ranch, but also the surrounding communities. And lastly is that some of the other developments also have providing other housing options, other commercial uses and such, thus creating a stronger community in the southeast itself. Thank you for your time and consideration on these applications.
Thank you. Any other person deemed to be affected who wishes to be heard on bylaw 4.59? Please step forward. The one third and final call for any person deemed to be affected by this bylaw. Speak. Seeing none. Declare that the public hearing for bylaw 4.25 to be closed at 6:32 p.m. And Director Hackett, I'm going to come back to you under request for decision, item 6.2 for bylaw 263.7. The southeast area structure plan amendment before us for second and possibly third reading this evening.
Thank you very much, Mayor Christie, members of council. So bylaw 263.7 as an amendment to map 6, specifically in the southeast area structure plan, as a recommendation from staff for second and third reading tonight. Thank you.
Councillor Hibbs.
Thank you, Mayor Christie. I will go ahead and move that council give second reading to bylaw 263.7 as presented.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns of council? Seeing none, I will call the question. Please proceed to vote. For bylaw 263.7, second reading, that is supported unanimously. Councillor Hibbs.
Thank you, Mayor Christie. In order for us to consider third reading, I move that council resolves to consider third reading at the same meeting as second reading.
Thank you. No input here either. Please proceed to vote. In consideration of a second and third reading, same meeting for bylaw 263.7. Is unanimously in favor. Councillor Hoekstra.
Thanks, Mayor Creasy. I move that council give third reading to bylaw 263.7 as presented.
Thank you. Not a lot of red lights here. The presenters did such a wonderful job. We have 0 questions. Thank you for that. Please proceed to vote. The final reading of bylaw 263.7 is supported unanimously. Everyone. And Director Hackett, let's proceed to the Mackenzie Ranch Outline Plan Amendment, item 6.3 under request for decision, please.
Thank you very much, Mayor Creasy and members of council. So we've been referring tonight to amendments to the Mackenzie Ranch Outline Plan, and so I'd like to give a brief presentation to outline what those amendments are. An outline plan is a non-statutory plan, and so it does not require a public hearing. But I will do my best to explain it so that the public is aware and council is aware of the changes being proposed. This amendment proposes to amend the outline plan to update land use districts, to adjust the road network, to change the park space allocation where it's located, and to update tables, text, and maps in this plan, which is a few years old. And these changes are to facilitate proposed development in the Mackenzie Ranch area. So the Mackenzie Ranch area is located in the south part of Lacombe, shown outlined in red there. And this photo shows that it is approximately half developed, but it's an actively growing area and has mixed land uses, residential land uses. In terms of the changes being proposed at the outline plan level, it is proposed to increase the density by amending the low density residential areas to the R4 residential mixed district, which offers a mix of lower and medium density forms of housing, by increasing the number of R1N residential narrow lots, detached residential detached narrow lots, adding an R5 residential multi-unit dwelling district site, so that's commonly what we might refer to as an apartment site, to change the street layout to accommodate the land use changes, to reconfigure the park space, kind of to spread it out to the south portion of the plan area, and at the same time to decrease the amount of park or the larger school site in the northeast part of the plan by adding some more R1N lots to that area and then linking some trail connections. So this is the current outline plan map from when the plan was first adopted. And comparing that, this is the proposed amendment showing more R1N, R4, and that R5 site in the south. And I'll just point those out just to kind of illustrate where they are. Starting at the top, so the top arrow shows R4 lots being added and a new lot layout, a new design there, some innovation there. The next item would be that circled area, and that's adding R1N residential lots on previous park or municipal reserve space and some new trails being proposed. Moving down, the third bullet is the third arrow, which just shows revised roads and cul-de-sacs really throughout that part of the plan. The next arrow is adding more R1N, so our narrow residential detached narrow. That's the light blue shown in the plan. The next arrow just shows some shifting of park space around, removing some public utility lots that weren't required, and moving the municipal reserve or park space. The next arrow shows the R4, new R4 zoning reflected. The next arrow shows a municipal reserve or park space to the south near the proposed multifamily site, R5 site, which is sort of. And note that there will be some variances probably required moving forward to the proposed, depending on the proposed future development styles. But those would need to be determined at the development permit stage. The developer is trying to be transparent, indicating that you want to be innovative, that they might have some variances that come in later, but those would be addressed at the development permit stage. So the changes, the proposed amendments do impact roads and density. In terms of roads, the road redesign increases the amount of roads or the infrastructure by about 14%, but it does reduce the lanes by 9%. So there's a little bit of a trade there. And the amendment will result in area being dedicated for roads and lanes to increase by 1.14 hectares from a total of 11.73 hectares to 12.87 hectares, or from 19.34% of the plan to 20.5% of the plan. So there are more roads. In terms of density, there's also more density being proposed. The existing plan identifies 841 units. If the proposed amendments are approved, this would increase to 996 units, so about 155 more units. And if we assume 2.2 persons per unit, which is what our latest census shows an average household size, this could result in 340 more people living on the same amount of land space compared with the current plan. The changes also impact park space or municipal reserve dedication, and the amendment will increase or decrease municipal reserve dedication by 0.63 hectares. So going from 6.88 hectares proposed in the current outline plan to 6.25 hectares. And so moving down from 11.35% of the developable area to 10% of the developable area. Now there is other open space in the neighborhood. It is public utilities law, so it isn't dedicated as municipal reserve or park, but it functions for public access. There's a trail. I think if you were walking your dog, you wouldn't know whether you're on municipal reserve or public utility lot, you would just know you were on a trail. And so if you count those trails, which are existing and built, then the total plan area would have 11.5%. An open house was held last summer, July 31st, for feedback on the proposed amendments. There were some supportive comments in terms of understanding the need for higher density and smaller lots in Macomb, but there were some concerns. Some of the comments we received were not in support of increasing density. There was some concerns about traffic on Mackenzie Avenue, including the need for construction access and roads not being designed for additional traffic and increased density. There were some comments that did not support smaller housing, and some concerns that density would make the neighborhood undesirable or would lower property values. In terms of responding to that feedback, following the open house, the developers and the city reviewed the comments. Traffic impact assessment was required and completed. Design changes were made to address the traffic concerns and to distribute park space throughout the neighborhood, recognizing that the density was increasing in different places. And so there have been adjustments in the outline plan presented tonight from July to the roads and the intersections in particular. As the remainder of Mackenzie Ranch develops, residents can expect increased traffic volume. So even if we don't change the plan, even if the plan isn't amended, as more housing units get built, there's going to be more traffic. But the road network was designed to accommodate traffic at full build out of the subdivision. And certainly while proposed density increases will lead to some more traffic, we're talking about several hundred potentially more residents, so there will be more traffic. That doesn't mean that the roads will fail. They will, the increases remain within acceptable limits for each road type. The changes to municipal reserve dedication of moving to 10% does meet the Municipal Government Act, and it does meet the city's municipal development plan, which are the tools we have to take a maximum of 10%. Any over dedication of that is generous of a developer, but we don't have a legislative base to require more than 10%. And then the increased density does meet our municipal development plan objectives for multi-attached units and for a density of 15 units per hectare in new developments, and this will be over the 15 units per hectare with the density changes. So it does meet our needs. In terms of public consultation, so the open house summary report and the comments submitted are on the agenda tonight. And the recommendation is that council approves amendments to the Mackenzie Ranch development as presented.
Thank you. Councilor Streeter is up first.
Thanks, Mayor Creasy. Thank you for this very detailed presentation on the changes here. And also thank you for the comments about timeline. I was curious too, July 31st. Why did it take till now to get to this point? But I appreciate having that information. So Mackenzie Avenue was a real sticking point for citizens. They did not want that to be a busy avenue. First of all, for construction, right? That it would be the place, the road that all the construction vehicles would have to go on. So now that's been swept. Basically now they'll probably use Mackenzie roadway, which is still in front of people's residences, which is unfortunate. So there was always that question about that future arterial road. I didn't hear that addressed. Maybe I missed it. What is the plan with that? Because at that open house, someone was wishing that would be built first. So all the construction vehicles could go on that road. Because yes, we're talking about traffic, but initially it's about the build out and how that will affect citizens. So I was just curious about that road.
I appreciate if I may take this one for record. That future arterial road is part of the South Green Road project, which we recently did a study on, and I believe Director Thompson will be bringing an update to you in the not too distant future. I believe it's coming in April. But spoiler alert, that road is going to intersect, so it will be constructed in time. Well, I'm estimating 20 years out. That may be optimistic, but it will, regardless, it will be built in time to support the development of Mackenzie Ranch.
I appreciate your honesty, Manager Mitchell. I couldn't agree with you more. It's nice to know that's in the works, but that is definitely a future plan. Councilor Oaktree.
Thank you. Just as then a comment further, so citizens do have to expect that those two main roadways will be used, Mackenzie Avenue at probably primarily Mackenzie Ranch Way to build out that whole subdivision.
Yes, Mayor Creasy, Acting Director Mitchell and I agree that yes, that would be the expectation between those two will stay up there. All
Just so everybody knows that. Let's put that proposed plan up on the screen if we could.
I'll need a little bit of assistance.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
And we'll let you do that so that that's the surrounding area. So we'll go a little further down the slides than that. But while we're waiting for it, Councilor Dallas, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Creasy. Yeah, I think it's unfortunately when they're developing neighborhood, so unfortunately you have to expect that. I appreciate that concern and people certainly rightfully so. Based on development permits I've seen in other communities in the nearby area, I believe this is required for us to build sustainable housing for what the public wants, and so I appreciate this. There's 3 requests for decision here, so it's difficult to just pick one to talk on, so you don't have to take up time on all of them. But so I support this. I believe it's good. Every time I hear an opposition comment to something to make the neighborhood undesirable and lower values, I just hope I don't have to continue hearing it for the rest of my life. I understand some concern, then you go the other way, and people seem to be disappointed too. But this is important for our community to supply what the residents need, and I don't think there will ever be a shortage of privileged lots in the areas of the community. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Councilor Dawson. Thank your optimism. Councilor Connick.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. at the end of the day, I will support this. I still have some reservations in terms of this is unlike anything we've seen before in this community in terms of density. Like, make no mistake about it. This is going to be a very dense neighborhood. And I know it came to council before when we amended the side yard setbacks and setbacks for this R1N in an effort to get even more lots in there. I live in an R1N, parking is always an issue on my street, and it is not nearly as dense as this will be. So I will reluctantly support it. I get it from a development standpoint. These homes will be more affordable. It'll allow developers to build smaller, cheaper homes, because the homes that are being built today, they just cannot be done for under 450,000, 500,000. They just can't be built anymore. And so we will see cheaper, more affordable homes here. But the density is the thing that really scares me. The traffic will be, once it's all built out, and I know that's 20 years down the road, and that's going to take some time. We'll be heavy too. But it's going to be very, very cozy in there. And but I get why. It's just, this is unlike anything we've seen before. So I will support it, but we'll see in 20 years what the mood is when that's all built out. Thank you.
Councilor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor PC. I think as I'll call us a grassroots municipality, we have responsibility to contribute to a national housing crisis. We're in changing times where housing ownership is becoming more and more difficult. I like to think that we are providing housing ownership options, and I think that is still a responsibility of us as a local municipal council to come up with them options and to work with the developers. And with that, obviously, there's pros and cons, but if any individual so chooses not to be in a high density area, there are still other options. And I just think, that there is a municipal responsibility to contribute to a change in times of housing. So I'm full in support of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Lucia.
I'd like to move that council approves the amendments to the Mackenzie Ranch outline plan as presented.
Thank you. So I guess the question for me too is access, and what I understood with this, in our notes, it's relatively small, and I see I believe it's a public utility that comes off of Mackenzie Avenue. Right? Is that correct, Director Haggett?
Yes, so Mackenzie Avenue, I guess, ends at Homestead Road, and then it is just a public utility lot that continues on there. That is a change to the road network.
And seems how we do have the design professional with us this evening, although you're not obligated to, sir. Mr. Lau, I'm just curious, with that single access, currently not built out, but as it works towards that end, that one access into that entire area marked in blue for ease of reference off of Mackenzie. What's Collector Road there? No, I'm sorry, Mackenzie Ranch Way. So that seems like an awful lot of traffic to move in and out from that entire area. What was the design criteria for it, and why does it not connect off of Mackenzie Avenue Road at the top as well?
For your worship, as I previously mentioned, the concept plan has gone through quite a few reiterations from what was originally submitted. When we fully understood what the concerns and challenges or comments from the community was, it was that traffic in Mackenzie Avenue. And I think inherently, based on the original design, most of the traffic was using Mackenzie Avenue versus splitting that traffic between Mackenzie Avenue and Mackenzie Ranch Way. And so by eliminating that direct access to the Mackenzie Avenue, what we're doing is forcing people to use Mackenzie Ranch Way, which is an actual collective road of the community itself. As part of the transportation impact assessment, part of that is making assumptions and then understanding how that traffic movement will work. We don't think that everybody is going to use Mackenzie Ranch Way, that south collector roadway. And so what that does anticipate is that some of the traffic is still going to continue going north to use Mackenzie Avenue. And then hopefully through the design, the majority of that traffic again will use this collector. And through that combination of these two roadways, through some of these accesses, and also through some of these potential future roadways, like the South Martiro roadway, that transportation gets split into various bits and parts versus concentrating it onto one specific area.
I appreciate you being willing to go over that once again. Thank you. Any additional comments or concerns? Manager Mitchell.
Mayor Christie, if I could add to that comment, the traffic that you'll see as modeled on Mackenzie Ranch Way would be comparable, slightly lower than what we currently see on 58th Street, just in case. That's kind of what you're looking for. And then on Mackenzie Ave, it would be similar to what we see on CME Trail between 50th Ave and 5-way stop. So that's similar to what we see today.
Appreciate that reference. Thank you. We've had a bit of input since the motion. Our legislative coordinator read it back just so everybody is reading of the wording.
The motion on the floor by Councillor Hoekstra is that council approves the amendments to the Mackenzie Ranch outline plan as presented.
Thank you. Any more input? Please proceed to vote. That motion is unanimously approved. Okay, Director Hackett, are you prepared for the bylaws for Commissioner?
Thank you, Mayor Creasy, I am. So in terms of the request for decision for bylaw 400.59, this is a land use bylaw amendment, still in the Mackenzie Ranch neighborhood. But it proposes to change the land use from future development district to R4 district. And consideration of second and third reading is recommended for support. Thank you.
Councilor Dawson.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. I'll move that council to second reading to bylaw 400.59 as presented.
Thank you. You don't have any input at this time? Please proceed to vote. For second reading of bylaw 400.59 is unanimously approved by council. Councilor Hoekstra.
I move that council resolves to consider third reading at the same meeting as second reading for bylaw 400.5.
Thank you. I see no wish to speak, so please go ahead and vote. Respect to the second and third reading of the same meeting, that is unanimously supported. Approved. Councilor Conick.
So with that, council gives third reading for 400.59.
Thank you. By a bunch of these ones, no more input. Put it for the percentage, I'll say no. Please proceed to vote. it was mine. That is unanimously supported as well. Third and final reading of bylaw 400.59. All right, in our continuing effort to confuse everyone, we're going to jump back into public hearings. And this time for bylaw 267.6. The mayor, I declare the statutory public hearing for bylaw 267.6 to be open. And that this hearing is held pursuant to sections 7, 8, 230, 606, and 692 of the Municipal Government Act 2000 as amended, and request the legislature to confirm the purpose of this public hearing, that the statutory public hearing notice was in fact advertised as required by the city's advertising bylaw, and that any written submissions received but not included in the public hearing agenda package are now read into the record. Coordinator Melbourne.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy and Council. The purpose of this public hearing is to provide an opportunity for the general public to offer input on proposed amendments to bylaw 267.6, which received its first reading on February 10th, 2020. Bylaw 267.6 seeks to amend the North Area structure. If approved, bylaw 267.6 will amend the North Area structure plan by deleting section 5.7.3 and amending section 5.7.4. In accordance with the city's advertising bylaw 42, section 606 of the MGA regarding advertising requirements, the public hearing notice was published in the Local Express on Thursday, February 20th and 27th, 2025, and on the city website as indicated in the agenda package. Mayor Houston Council, no written submissions were received, and we received no registrations from the members of the public to speak.
Thank you. And similarly, as with the previous 3 public hearings, ask all persons giving oral presentations to clearly state their name and keep the comments brief and to the point. The order for this public hearing will be as follows: Development Officer, Director Hackett, I believe, this evening, followed by those in favor, and those opposed, and finally a person deemed to be affected who wishes to be heard on bylaw 267.6. As our development officer, or designated, I guess, in this instance, Director Hackett, and we start us off on 267.6.
Thank you very much, Mayor Creasy. I'm very happy to present bylaw 267.6 amendments to the North Area Structure Plan this evening. These amendments will facilitate a proposed development of a new fire station in North Macomb. So the North Area Structure Plan was adopted in 2000, and it includes land situated in the north parts of the city. The purpose of the plan is to provide a framework for land use development and planning in that part of Macomb. And the plan outlines the general pattern for major roads, utilities, and broad land uses. There are 2 sections of the North Area Structure Plan that require text amendments to facilitate a fire station development. That would be section 5.7.3 and 5.7.4, both under the community and social facilities portion of that plan. Section 573 states that no emergency service facilities have been planned for the area. And we are proposing to delete this section to allow for a new fire station in the area. Section 574 states that the city has adopted a cemetery master plan, which designates the east of the cemetery as future cemetery lands. We are proposing to amend this section to identify that only a portion of the lands east of the cemetery will be designated as future cemetery lands, with a portion also to be used as an alternative institutional use, such as a fire station in this case. So they're just the 2 text amendments. Over the last few years, the city of Macomb has been searching for a new fire station location. And in 2024, a new site at 4410 Woodland Drive was selected by council. And in October, council passed a motion selecting that site, and also a motion that council directs administration to commence all other steps required to apply for subdivision and preparation of the site for future development. And so those steps have been underway. The lands have been subdivided to create a 1.06 hectare parcel. The lands already have the correct zoning, so no land use bylaw amendment is required because the parcel is Community Services District, CS designated. But these text amendments to the North Area Structure Plan are required to allow for the next step in the planning, in terms of planning steps, which would be submission of development and eventually building permits. And so development permits need to be consistent with approved plans and a plan that says there'll be no fire station. It would be hard, it would be not possible to approve a development permit for the fire station unless these amendments are made. So this is the map for future land use development out of the North Area Structure Plan. It shows the property as institutional lands now, and there's just an arrow showing a subject parcel, so no change is needed to the map. And this is the parcel at 4410 Woodland Drive. The blue outline shows the current parcel, which contains cemetery and baseball diamonds right now. The red area shown in this map is the future fire station parcel. On this air photo, you can see that the north diamond will remain. There is no impact to the east diamond, which is actually on its own separate parcel, the east parcel. And there's no impact to existing or sold cemetery plots in any portion of the existing cemetery. What this decision will assist with is the building of a fire station, and that will require removal of the south diamond. This is a photograph from Woodland Drive taken in August 2023, just showing that small diamond. In terms of public consultation, no comments were received on the plan amendment. The recommendation tonight is that council gives second reading to bylaw 267.6 as presented. That council resolves to consider a third reading of this bylaw at the same meeting as second reading. And that council gives third reading to bylaw 267.6 as presented. Thank you.
Thank you. So for 257.6, I would now ask those wishing to speak in favor to step forward. Hopefully the rush. Call for the second. Those wishing to speak in favor. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of 267.6. Now an opportunity for anyone opposed who wishes to speak. This is your opportunity to do so. Second call. Anyone opposed to bylaw 267.6?
Just come on up.
Absolutely. Please come on up here, make yourself at home, sir, in a seat. Just have to use the microphone for the benefit of those at home and in the gallery. Whenever you're prepared to speak, the floor is yours.
I'm new with this. I'm a little confused. We didn't get the original proposal. And it hasn't been amended, which I'm glad to see. A smaller portion is going to be used in firewall. And I'm a little, it said in the paper that this was the best location of, I believe, 17 locations that you looked at, but it didn't say where you were looking. And it sounds like I'm maybe coming across, it sounds like I don't want my own backyard, I was up somewhere. But it seems like the ball diamond from the cemetery, they get hit, or they're the ones that get set aside for other proposals. And I think it's kind of nice. Those ball diamonds are used a lot because we don't get too far from them. And I think it's kind of nice to keep the cemetery all in one area as long as possible. And therefore, I think this is, see, we got so many letters in the mail. I think I'm up to right here. This is the one we're talking to. To begin, I think, did it say you have, this is going to be the second reading? Yeah, okay. But then we got another date for can't think of the name of it now. It's an appeal. Well, I don't know if it has it already passed, but this is where it's going to go. We're not in an appeal now, are we?
Nowhere.
No. But I don't know if there's anybody else here talking to this or not. I do have some concerns about going where it is going. It's going, the traffic is going to go on to one of the busiest roads, second busiest intersection and road in the city of Macomb. I don't know if that bothers the fire department or not, because they've got lights and sirens on, but there is they have the right of way, but since it's a voluntary fire department, these firefighters, they've got to get to the station and get in the truck to go to the fire. And I think it's it's a pretty busy intersection there. I try to avoid it as much as I can, but we live in that area and I have to use it. But I thought there were maybe better locations in the city, and we don't know what other ones you did look at. That's never come out in the public. I don't think I didn't see it anyway. So therefore, I'm kind of opposed to the location, just for simple reason that it's a busy intersection and it's going to be hard for people to get to the fire department and for the fire department to get up. So I thank you for your time, and I guess I'll maybe somebody else will want to speak against it, or I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. I don't believe that we got your name started, and I'm going to interrupt you if you would like getting up. We appreciate it.
Yeah, it's Murray Gordon. We live on Dickens Lane, number 11 Dickens Lane in English States. And I had a hard time hearing what was going on, but we did write a letter for the first, when we got the first notice, because we could write a letter in opposition. I kind of understood that there was no opposition. Is that what I heard?
Thank you for that question. I would ask our legislative coordinator to have a submission from Mr. Gordon.
Mayor, Councillor, Mayor, Precinct Council, to my awareness, we did not receive any comments, but I'll pass it over to Director Hampton.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. We did receive opposition to the subdivision decision, and so Mr. Gordon may have replied to the subdivision decision, but we did not specifically to the plan. So we did get some letters of opposition to the subdivision.
I heard it on.
It's a little bit hard to hear in the gallery sometimes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have no more questions or not. I don't know if I have to, if I can answer anything or not. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. I do appreciate your input, and I think you have some very valid and reasonable points. Some of these things can be quite complicated. This one in particular has had many different readings, and there was a lot of work made on this one, so I appreciate it coming from. As far as location, I can tell you that there were, in fact, far more locations considered than what you may think. These locations were for serious consideration were primarily west of Highway 2A. I'm not going to go into each and every one of them, but I can tell you there were many, and the discussion was quite exhaustive over the past 2 years plus. But I don't disagree with a lot of what you said, so thank you for accuracy.
Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition to bylaw 267.6, please come forward. Third and final opportunity for anyone who wishes to speak in opposition of bylaw 267.6. Very good. Now ask any person deemed to be affected and wishes to be heard rather, for bylaw 267.6. This is your opportunity. Second call. Going once. Third and final call for any person deemed to be affected by bylaw 267.6. Seeing none, I will declare the public hearing for bylaw 267.6 be closed at 7:16 p.m. All right, on your agenda package, then council, we're going to go down to request for decision. Item number 6.5 in your agenda, bylaw 267.6, actually, fare station amendments. And proposed for second and possibly third reading this evening. Director Hackett.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy, members of council. Bylaw 267.6 is an amendment to the North Area Structure Plan to allow for fire station to be built in the area. It's a text amendment. And the recommendation for second and third reading is the recommendation.
Thank you. Councilor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. As I do agree with some of the comments of Mr. Gordon, yes, perhaps more explanation to the number of sites that were discussed. It was a very long, drawn-out process of studies and engagement with volunteer firefighters and our staff, and efforts to, I guess, approach other options of land. And and we had a communication with Minor Ball to have some other solutions to accommodate that, the loss of that diamond. I applaud the administration that we have for communication with that, and there are plans in place. I think that's part of it. We had to address community organizations that have their own passions in the community that were affected, and that was always very important with council, that prior to making that choice was also to address the affected users. So I think we need to get that message across, that it's a very important service. We do understand. I brought forwarding to CO County to that intersection since they brought that forth. That is being assessed as traffic concerns. I think CO County has also said that we've asked the fire department to not use sirens during certain time periods to out of concerns of the housing residents. So those are some things that we've, you kind of address ahead of time. So, but it's always been a passion of mine to get this going forward, because we were supposed to have had this in process a year ago. But anyways, I'd like to make the motion that council gives second reading to bylaw 267.6 as presented.
Thank you, Councilor Dallas.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. Yeah, I think there's a lot of concerns. I'm surprised there wasn't more letters written by a member of my household, and 6 other members of council didn't receive feedback. We live very close to that as well. And I coach softball, and my daughter has just finally aged into using those diamonds. And you know, we ride our bikes by there every day with our pet, and just on family bike rides. And we appreciate that use. And I believe, yeah, if I thought there was a better option, I would have chosen that too. And you know, just doing my best to remain objective as much as I would love to just ride to that one with my kid to go play ball. But yeah, I think in regards to traffic, when there is traffic, the truck leaves in 30 seconds, and although there may be a slight inconvenience to those people at those lights, I don't foresee it being an issue for our firefighters and some of the many other issues that were addressed with policies in there. So, yeah, if I saw a better option, I would be interested in this. But this is where I believe we have to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dawson.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. I also agree with Mr. Gordon regarding the concerns of this location. It's the choice of that ball diamond to come out was very difficult for me. And we had other options that fell apart that looked promising, but due to some, let's put it this way, lack of cooperation on a couple, didn't work out. And this was the best location. I think it's a poor location, but there isn't any others that are on the west side of the highway. So I will be voting for this, but reluctantly. I do agree that there could be some real traffic issues there, and I hope the fire department has control of the lights. I don't know if they can with the railway crossing, but I forgot to ask that question today at our meeting. We had a first meeting today regarding the fire. And that would be one of my concerns, that I would hope to be able to control that intersection when they leave the fire hall. So thank you for your presentation, Mr. Lord. I appreciate it.
So I don't know if I'm going to add a whole lot that hasn't been said this evening, but for anyone that suggests this is the ideal location for the fire hall in the community is sadly mistaken. It is, however, the best location that was presented for council's consideration out of many that is west of Highway 2 that were up for consideration. But as mentioned, to suggest this is the perfect location, we have to press to find people that would agree with that. And I too will be reluctantly supporting this, however, not so much with respect to third reading yet this evening. Anyone else? Coordinator Malamono, let's have this motion back for everybody's consideration, please.
Increasing the motion on the floor by Commissioner Roth, is that council gave seconds meeting to file 267.6 as presented.
Thank you. One last opportunity for input. Please proceed to vote. With respect to second reading of bylaw 267.6, supported unanimously. Councilor Rutra.
I'm going to try it. I'd like to move that council resolves to consider the third reading of bylaw 7.6 at the same meeting as second reading. Because why prolong this? Sir, I appeal to your to be expedient and that we carry on.
That's a very good point, and I thank you for it, Councilor Rutra. In this particular case, I think the opportunity for additional public input trumps the expediency. We've spent 2 years with this now. Another couple of weeks isn't going to make that much difference in my opinion. So I will not be supporting this, but certainly with anybody's within our review to consider bringing it forward for the CD. So, Councilor, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Christie. I just want to thank Councilor Hooks for his comments. I don't know what kind of public input that would suddenly change this location, but
Thank you, Councilor Connor. Please proceed to vote. We have a vote of 5 for and 2 against. And as Councilor is aware, anything less than unanimous decision on this makes it in the negative. So we are unable to consider third reading of bylaw 267.6 at this meeting. However, I am rest assured that it will be coming forward at a later date. Thank you, Council. Manager Mitchell, I believe you're up next for item 6.6, the 49C Tyler construction update.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy and members of council. The tender for phase 1 of the 49C Avenue Plaza closed on February 6th and came in about $330,000 over budget. This project was originally envisioned in 2 phases, with $850,000 allocated for phase 1 this year, and an additional $600,000 allocated for phase 2 in 2027 and 2028. So tonight, for council's consideration, I'm presenting 4 options for advancing the construction of 49B Ave, of the 49B Ave Plaza. Option 1 is to reduce the phase 1 scope by removing the concrete paving stones and deferring the installation of decorative string lighting. During the concrete work, conduit will be installed to support lighting in the future. No additional funds are required for this option, but it falls short of the aesthetic vision that DART had for the plaza. Option 2 is to increase the 2025 budget by $100,000 and decrease the 2027 plan by $100,000. This option includes the installation of the decorative lighting this year, but still removes the concrete paving stones. Option 3 is to increase the 2025 budget by $330,000 and decrease the 2027 plan by the same. This option represents the original phase 1 scope, including both the installation of decorative lighting and the addition of the paving stones. And option 4 is to advance the 49B Avenue parking lot modifications planned in phase 2 to this year, but to defer the full closure of that avenue for the foreseeable future. We would also proceed with the rest of the phase 1 scope as planned, similar to option 3, including the lighting, paving stones, and some additional seating. This will require increasing the 2025 budget by $600,000, but the same amount will be removed from the 2027 and 2028 budgets. I'll start by acknowledging that both administration and the DART committee are recommending option 4, which is the most expensive option for funding in 2025. This and 2 of the other options presented require advancing money that's budgeted later in the 10-year plan. Since CAO Dowdy could not join us today, I asked him to provide some commentary on how this recommendation would impact cash flow for the 2025 budget. He advised, while the city's year-end audit isn't yet complete, we do know that at least $750,000 more than budgeted will be contributed to the general capital reserve from 2024, and that's thanks in a large part to our agreement with Parallax Energy. This means it is possible to advance the funds this year without any major impacts to the current budget, and have the added benefit of reducing budget demands in 2027 and 2028. Aside from cash flow, there are several other reasons that administration is recommending advancing the phase 2 infrastructure changes and budget. As a quick overview, the scope for phase 1 was to include the expansion of the parking stalls on 49C Ave and aesthetic enhancements such as decorative lighting, planters, and benches. It also included infrastructure changes such as traffic calming bulb outs, a new RRB controlled crosswalk on 58th Ave, and widened sidewalks. Space for these pedestrian-friendly changes was created by converting 49C Avenue to a one-way street that accommodates traffic moving to the southeast. Phase 2 of the project was to include infrastructure changes to the Highway 2A parking lot and additional site furniture and planters to be installed once the plaza was eventually closed to traffic. Administration discussed the future closure of the road with the DAR community, and both groups agreed that the plaza concept would have to be proven through programming in order to seriously consider closing the road permanently. Administration also spoke with several of the business owners that front the Highway 2A parking lot, and 2 of them have provided letters of support for the projects. You can review their exact wording as the letters are attached to this report. But to summarize, they feel that the parking lot modifications proposed as part of phase 2 are an important part of the plaza project. The proposed modifications will allow access from both 49C and 49B and will help offset the impacts of converting 49C to a one-way street. As an added benefit, the parking lot modifications will also add an additional 5 stalls. There's one other item that I'd like to bring to council's attention tonight, and that's the existence of some failed stormwater infrastructure in that parking lot. As part of our normal procedure during detailed design of 49C and the parking lot, we reviewed the existing storm underground infrastructure and discovered that the storm main and several catch basins are in very poor condition. As this is a pre-existing issue and not related to the scope of the plaza, administration understands that it falls outside of the DAR committee's purview and budget. However, we do recommend replacing the storm main before the surface work on 49C and the parking lot is complete to prevent future rework. We have tendered the storm work along with the rest of the city's 2025 works program, and we'll have pricing next week. We are asking for council's authorization to complete the work if it can be completed under the existing capital works budget. However, if the capital works budget bids exceed the budgeted amount, then we will return to council with options and a recommendation. So in summary, the 4 options for 49C Avenue Plaza are outlined on page 5 of this report. Options 1 through 3 include various elements of the original scope for phase 1 some reduced scope, some full scope, and vary in budget from no change to an additional $330,000. Administration is recommending option 4, which includes advancing the full $600,000 budget for phase 2, as it includes all of the safety and aesthetic improvements proposed in phase 1, as well as the parking lot modifications proposed for phase 2. It provides the greatest increase in the number of parking stalls, and it improves access to those parking stalls. It creates a downtown plaza as envisioned by the DAR committee that can be closed and programmed for special events. It defers the full closure of 49C Avenue until the concept of the downtown pedestrian plaza is proven through programming. And it limits impacts to businesses by completing construction in a single construction season rather than extending it over multiple years. And I see a few familiar faces in the audience from the DAR community. I'd just like to thank them tonight for joining us. And I have 2 recommended motions before council. And I'd be happy to take any questions on this.
Thanks, Minister Mitchell. Councilor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. First of all, I'm not against 49C principle. I think it creates vibrancy downtown and be excited to see it. I am opposed to the bubble of 50th Ave. And yet, when the whole downtown revitalization took place, each and every intersection, crosswalk should have had lights at the time. Every crosswalk should be equal importance. Because yes, there's been close calls, but there's been close calls at every one of those intersections, in my opinion, over the years. If you do a traffic study count, there are thousands of vehicles going through, and at that specific spot, you're going to the right to go straight through. And I think that disrupts the flow, backs up traffic farther, which then creates more congestion and a higher risk at crosswalks further west. But 49C in principle, anything in my opinion, you have a passionate organization together with the purpose of trying their very best to create foot traffic to downtown Lacombe that's historical, that you want the businesses to succeed. But I have always opposed against 50th Ave bubble out because I think each and every crosswalk deserves the same attention for all risk. But to focus on that specific one, I think is because you can't tell me at the Circle K one or others that they're equally, safety should be equal. And I just think this is not, there was a traffic study, 7,000-8,000 vehicles a day through Highway 12, 50th Ave, if not more from my previous of hearing traffic studies. And I just, considering some days where we have traffic going through because of emergency purposes on Highway 2, this is a block of the flow. And but 49C in principle, wonderful. Nothing more. Be passionate about Macomb, and these days want to see businesses succeed. Absolutely, because we're fighting for success of businesses. It's tiring here in the media of other businesses closing in other areas, but this completely I will not support this because I've never supported the North and desire. But I want to make it very clear this is wonderfully as far as the dark and your passion for others, like awesome. Just the purpose is 49C to bring foot traffic to downtown. Highway 1250 that, in my opinion, is not the purpose of 49C. So.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. I'd like to move that council approve option 4 for the 49C Avenue Plaza, which includes Highway 2A parking lot modifications in 2025, the 600,000 increase in the 2025 capital budget funded by the General Capital Reserve. And I would say that I'm supporting that option because I think it achieves everything that we talked about when we originally started talking about this program, primarily safety. The ball vote is not for the convenience of traffic, it's for the safety of pedestrians. It makes that crossing significantly shorter. The idea that these lights magically create a safety corridor across the street is a fantasy. The only thing that's going to keep you safer crossing the street is to have less of it to cross. And by having the ball vote, it also makes that intersection less complicated because you have fewer lanes to navigate. And we all know what that looks like when one vehicle stops and another one continues. We've had collisions between pedestrians and vehicles on that intersection. So I again applaud the design of this. That was my primary goal on this project, and I continue to support it. And it isn't only, of course, the intersection that crosses 50th, but it's also the one that crosses 49C itself, which I know people that have actually been hit on that. I seriously know people that have been hit on that intersection. So that's not acceptable. We can fix this. Traffic downtown is too much, certainly. The amount of heavy traffic that we have through downtown certainly is far too much. This city needs to decide that we're going to pass a bylaw that reroutes heavy traffic that is not here to deliver product, that is here just through. It needs to go around. So that's how you deal with traffic, not by letting pedestrians take their lives into their hands when they're trying to just simply cross the road to go grab a coffee across the way. If you are a regular walker downtown, not necessarily somebody who just drives up to where they need to go, I think that you would recognize the need for this. And so I will very much support this. I think it's probably apparent in my voice. And I do appreciate that we've changed this so that at a future time this could be closed. But in the meantime, I think that this fits everything that we were looking for. And I also do really want to give a shout out to the DART committee, because I know you've spent countless hours. And again, this motion respects that you have put in that volunteer time, come with a very good recommendation, and I agree with it and support it. Thank you.
Councilor Dallas.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. Yeah, I just want to address the one concern about all sidewalks being equal. If you move up the street to 52nd Street, there is a bulb out in front of the Circle K, and then Kitty Corner from it, there is a bulb out. And so these are traffic calming. They're safer for pedestrians, and yeah, so we should make them equal, and I think we're doing that by putting money down. I support this, appreciate Dark's work on this. I think, you know, when I say we, I think the DARB and administration and then council, this kind of sprung from safety concerns and community engagement. And then, you know, not only are we're getting a safer pedestrian and a more walkable and better downtown, you know, we're getting a little bit of everything. And so thank you to all people in the public who were involved and brought this forward. And then there was people in the organization that had vision for it and were able to design this. So I look forward to it, and believe we're also supposed to be in support of the storm work. And yeah, I support that because there is nothing worse than having something brand new and then having to dig up a patch of it to replace a small piece. So we'll make sure this is done and enjoyable for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor Christie. I had a lot of similar comments written down here with a lot of Councillor Dallas and Councillor Hickson and touched on. I personally actually support this as well. I like the idea that we're doing it all in one shot so that it's done and dusted, that the disruption in the communities is kept to a minimum. Just as far as the DARK initiative concern, initiative overall, it's been a long time in the works. When I was in my first term, this came about, this initiative was brought about. Mayor and I were there at that time. The council today recognized that there needed to be an injection of into the downtown core. I've said many times that the heart of your community, well, literally now, the heart of our community begins in the downtown core, and the downtown core, if it is strong, successful, vibrant, so too will the rest of your community be. And I'm really proud of that initiative when it came about. I'm proud of successive councils supporting that initiative, investing in our downtown core, and we're seeing the dividends of that. I mean, when the town was incorporated many years ago and for many, many decades thereafter, of course, you know, your commercial district was downtown. And we've seen an influx now with the strip malls and the mall and everything else, kind of people filter away from the downtown core. And I think with the initiatives that have been made, including the Highway 12 redevelopment that was done, and now the initiatives through DARK, that we're seeing that downtown core become stronger. Right? I mean, we shouldn't have strong when I had a business down there, but that's neither here nor there. But I just think it's tremendous. Kudos to the DARK committee. I did want to stress that when we found out that it was over budget, we did have a teams meeting to discuss what we could do to bring down those numbers, and had a discussion about changing the scope a little bit and what could be done there. But I 100% support option 4, and I look forward to and I can't stress Manager Mitchell's comments about we recognize that will close in the foreseeable future. We have to be able to justify its use, and I think by doing these renovations, we can say to the community, hey, there's another spot to hold back fundraisers, whether it's a dance studio holding a movie night on that street or whatever, we can close it down. Whether it's, I know former Director LaPointe was always had an idea of putting some curling sheets there and having something in the winter. Maybe the Colin Curling Club can get on board now. But I think there's endless things that we can do down there, and we'll need some buy-in from the community, from business owners, from the city to prove that street. But I look forward to what this can be and how it will increase the ambience and the vibe of the downtown core and keep that momentum going that we've developed since the DARK programs and such. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Clark. So for me, the option 4 here is the only one that I cannot support at this time, not because the DARK committee has not done a magnificent job, because they have. It does come down to dollars and cents thing for me, and that's an issue. I just don't think that this is what our community needs right now. It was already $600,000 or $700,000, and it was $300,000 short. Now, Manager Mitchell tell us we're $750,000 that's required to bring this to fruition, to completion. And I just, enough is enough on this one for me. I don't think that we're gonna add anything here that cannot be proven for this space. Actually, as it exists currently, to be perfectly honest with you. But with the improvements that are done here, I don't think it's going to make it a huge difference on that. And I do not foresee the closure of 49C. I do certainly will be prefer. Anyone else? Very good. So the motion read back to us. Coordinator Bellamont, please.
Christine, the funds that I mentioned is that council approves option 4 for the supporting Lindsay Avenue Plaza, which includes the Highway 2A parking lot modifications in 2025, with a $600,000 increase to the 2025 capital budget funded by the general capital reserve.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Please proceed to vote. And a margin of 5-2. That motion is passed. Councilors Phillipson and Mayor Creasy in voting no. Is everyone? I think that Councilor Mitchell was up first.
Thank you. I'll move that council authorizes the replacement of the storm main between 49C Avenue and 49B Avenue within the Highway 2A service road in 2025, with costs not to exceed the approved budget for the 2025 capital program.
Thank you. Any comments? Please proceed to vote. Stormwater replacement in that area is unanimously supported by Lee. What's your reading? There we go. Unanimous. Director Halverson's been waiting patiently for this item. Item 6.3, the United Church tree planting plan update.
Thank you, thank you, Mayor Creasy and Council. Here tonight with members of the church, and Cynthia Pohl. She's joining us via Teams, and I'm requesting the decision for the final design and official naming of the St. Andrew's United Church Country Tree Project. City of Macomb has partnered with St. Andrew's United Church to plant 100 trees on a municipal preserve land on Woodland Drive. On February 1st, an open house was held at the church, and feedback was requested, and the report is attached to the council, or to the request for decision. The feedback was positive. However, there was some concerns over the budget and also the open space. Previously, council approved the participation on November 25th, 2024, and endorsed a memorandum of understanding January 13th of 2025. The financial and service impacts to the city are $36,000 over 3 years. First year with 2/3, around 22,000 for watering trees and weeding and providing the mulch, and second and third year are 8,000 and 6,000 for the maintenance and watering. Our parks team will receive delivery and planting of trees, and council, we're requesting council approval for for this final design, which is on the council request for decision, and we're here for any questions.
Thank you, Director. I obviously appreciate it. Councilor Dallas.
Thank you, Mayor Casey. So I guess overall, I'm not super concerned with the maintenance costs on this. I am curious if we can get a reminder of how these trees are being purchased and where those funds are coming from. And then that's I guess that's my main question right now on regarding this.
Mayor Creasy. Mayor Creasy to Councilor Dallas. The church has provided all the funding for purchase of the trees and delivery of the trees to the site.
Okay, so none of the grant funding, there was there grant funding from the city, or this all was church fundraised?
Respond to that question. My name is Dawn Chats. With regard to grant funding, we're in the process of applying for the community partnership grant, and we're anticipating a positive response when the board meets soon. We're also have a plan to apply for grants to the Eco Energy Grant. But half of our funding is coming from private donations. We had quite a successful pledge drive. Our goal is to raise 22,000. We're almost there, 2,000 short. So we're well on our way, and we hope that when the community hears more about the project, that they will like to get involved as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Lutra.
Thanks, Mayor Creasy. Yeah, thank you for the enthusiasm of your team. As you know, I have some misgivings about the long-term support that is required from the city for this project. And so we are being gifted beautiful plants and trees, but we also are gifted a project that will last far beyond the 3 years in the memorandum of understanding. So that's my concern is this is a gift with strings attached, and I really appreciate the very extensive maintenance list that was given, because a lot of those maintenance items speak right into them. That's things that will have to be done in 5, 10, 20, 25 years. And where is the memorandum of understanding to cover that? What do we say to citizens when we are responsible for that? And so that is my concern. I realize it's not tons and tons of money. It's not like the 49C Avenue project here, but it's more about taking over a project that we didn't necessarily have in our mind. And so that's my concern, that there will be costs in the future to maintain this space. I know there was a dream that this would be an outdoor classroom. We know how long that will take for it to grow out, and the design is beautiful, but that will take a long time to grow out to be to that point. If we're lucky, 25 years, it will be looking the way we want, and there's nothing built into this to understand whose responsibility it is to maintain this project through the years. So that is my concern. But I do not want to diminish the excitement that was there on February 1st. There was a lot of people in attendance. I'm just coming at it from a fiscal point of view from the city, is who will maintain it past 3 years.
Councilor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy, through to the director. Sorry, my voice is going. So how much extra cost is this extra cost? Like investors, parkland, grass, you'd have cost, on a regular basis anyway. To cut it, and take care of it. Is that not correct?
Yeah, that's the extra cost on top of what we are already spending.
Okay, so this would be over and above our maintenance.
Yes, and then on the ongoing costs will be offset by, we're not cutting as much grass, and so we'll offset. It won't 100% offset the long-term maintenance, but it's going to be fairly close to.
Oh, okay, so it'll be very close to the same cost we would have for mowing it then.
Yeah, because way less mowing
Okay.
in this project compared to what we're doing right now.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess, we previously in budget been discussing planting trees and purchasing trees. And my belief is those trees were gonna have maintenance costs as well. And I'm not sure what our tree counting, that is not the word for it now, it's just inventory, thank you. But I'm sure we're taking canopy cover into account when we're doing these things, and so this will help us, and especially when we compare numbers with trees in our downtown corridor we want to replace, and we look at costs of $200,000 per tree, and then we look at the cost of the tree for this, and I know they're not like for like because they're in different areas, but I mean, I feel like this is, this is a responsible use for trees and responsible budget for it. Thank you.
Did I respond to the internal maintenance?
Thank you, Councilor Richard.
That was my comment, Mayor Creasy. My question wasn't answered. I asked who is committed to the long-term maintenance of this sanctuary.
My apologies. I mistook your comments. I thought you were being facetious, to be quite honest with you.
No.
This is on city property. I think we know who, in fact, is going to be ultimately responsible for looking after it, and that is city portions and city dollars. Councilor Hawk.
Thank you, Mayor Christie. Support the idea in principle. I'm just a little worried about. I've owned the odd tree in my own tiny little bit of the world, and sometimes they don't take first go. And I guess I'm just wondering what happens if out of the 100 we plant, 20 for whatever reason don't come back the next year. Is there money to replace those trees? Or is the church prepared to get more pledges to replace them? Is that on? I guess the mayor answered the question. It's going to be on us, but that's my only concern is that I think there's. I hope all 100 trees take off, but I foresee that some do not. And so how will that impact this project?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I believe they have a contingency of, I'm not sure, is it 10%? 10%. So 10-ish trees that will be replaced on behalf of United Church.
Councilor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. So all I've heard is mowing, but really 100 trees takes a tremendous amount of water for the survival of trees like Parks and Recs. We don't constantly see to provide this beautiful city with the flowers and trees and so forth. Now it's no disrespect. I think this creates another park in that area, but this is a lot of work, like for the first 2-3 years to get the thing established, and it's nothing more of it. The city gets credit for is walking trails and parks and certain streets that have absolutely beautiful trees. But I mean, this is a collaboration of working going forward for probably the first 3 years before it's just mowing. So I think all the respect, Director, I think you've not included further maintenance costs of hours of public works of watering these trees. So wonderful idea, but I don't think we've been presented with all the costs.
So I think you're correct. It was significant. I think it was nearly equal to the value of the trees themselves in the first year for the watering, for weekly watering. It's $22,000.
Oh, my.
So that's right here. So you're 100% right. It is right. And I kind of torn between being supportive of an extremely well-meaning group here. In this particular instance, it's not as good as it seems. I'll put it that way. I think this is a wonderful idea, but we're coming at a project that was not really on the radar for the city to come about and have it incur extra costs and ongoing maintenance for us is troublesome. And what it indicates to future groups that want to do the same and direct city operations and growth areas. And as I said, don't get me wrong, the idea itself is wonderful and sounds very good on the surface. I will reluctantly support it, but this does come with significant costs for the city and will far exceed, unfortunately, any value that we're able to put into it at this particular point in time in the not too distant future, and will have ongoing costs for alternity, quite honestly, as a park. Hopefully the benefits of the park itself will outweigh those costs. And Donnie, was it you that had some additional input, or go ahead.
First of all, I sort of want to emphasize that it's an ecosystem that we're planting of native trees, shrubs, and plants, so that it would take the least maintenance of anything you could do. And it is true in the first 3 years that there needs to be watering, and which the city sort of readily agreed to, or otherwise we wouldn't have continued on this path to this extent. But I'd also like to ask the landscape designers, Cynthia, to comment about the maintenance into the future, because it would, after the first 3 years, it would be left to grow naturally. And there would be mowing in the open spaces, and the trail would be mown. So there's no maintenance otherwise on the trail system either. But I'd just like Cynthia to be able to say a little bit about the trees that are and the plants that are being planted.
Very good. I think Cynthia, hopefully she heard the ask of her. She's nodding yes.
Yes.
The floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Yes, these are native trees, so 3 years of watering them will get them very well established, and after that 3-year period, they will need no further extra watering. They will. It's extremely likely that they will all survive without extra watering if they get that first 3 years of watering. As far as maintenance, really the only long-term ongoing maintenance is the mowing of the paths in the open areas, and then one mowing per spring of the rough areas, which is where we're letting the grass grow longer. And then the only thing after that is the maintenance of the habitat structures, which could or could not be maintained. It's not essential that they're maintained, but the habitat structures are there in the beginning to add more complexity to the system, so it is more attractive for fauna.
Thank you.
The other thing that I would add is that Cynthia has encouraged us to have an ongoing activation committee, I think was the term she used, that would be a combined city and church effort to hold events in the space and to encourage people to be using the space. So there would be some long-term commitment to how it's used and kept up and appreciated.
Thank you. Councilor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor Priest. I think I echoed that, you know, when you have groups come forward with passion, it's only, and volunteers, I always sincerely appreciate that, but to beat up the water costs, I think you could move that decimal point over each year. I think that's just the amount of hours, the volume of 100 trees, I think is highly underrated. So anyways, but I do support it. And thank you for trying to make a difference with what your efforts are.
Councilor Dallas.
Thank you, Mayor Chrissy. Is there a motion, President? No. Okay, I'll make a motion. Council approved the 100 tree project final design.
Thank you. Councilor Clark.
Thank you, Mike. So just for the comments, we referenced this activation committee. Is it fair to say that the United Church will, throughout the years, you know, help to, I get it going to a natural state, but I also get like weeds have a way of appearing in places we don't want. Is there an idea that maybe once a year you guys will go out there and maybe just take garbage or pick up some weed? Or is that kind of what you're foreseeing as well, or is that still just the city's fault? You know, is that just their sandpit and there won't be anything, or is there, you guys kind of see a little bit of involvement? So
We're committed to, and we've shifted to referring to it as a woodland sanctuary rather than just because 100 trees doesn't really say what it's all about. Yes, we're definitely committed to respecting and caring for creation. That was the impetus in the first place, and but that said, part of the maintenance was the removal of noxious weeds.
Yeah.
And the head gardener has been part of our conversations too, and that's sort of regular maintenance that's being done in all the other areas too. And this municipal reserve does have 4 or 5 beds of trees already there that are tended. So it's not as if it's just sort of a blank space right now. But we're incorporating what's there already.
Director Alderson.
Oh, I just have my microphone on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, gotcha. Anyone else? Very good. We have a motion before us. And if there's no further input, please proceed to vote. With respect to the 100 tree project final design, that is approved by margin of 5-1. Thank you very much. We wish you all the best and successful project.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's just a second. So 30 seconds.
Pardon me.
And this is thoughts ready.
Councilor Dallas.
Thank you. We'd like to make a motion for an active name area that council approved the naming of the space as woodland sanctuary.
It's certainly short and sweet. It gets the point across of what it is. Yeah, for sure. You ready to speak on this item? So I'm assuming that state was brought forward 500 tree planting program.
Yes, that's correct.
Very good. Thank you. Please proceed to vote.
Sanctuary.
That is unanimously approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dallas. We were wondering what our next step. We didn't have that. There we go.
It was all me.
Very good. That does conclude our business for this evening.
Motion on that.
Release on YouTube. I appreciate that, Councillor Connor.
It's getting out of control. That's what happened.
I see no additional input. Please go ahead and vote.
That's good.
Unanimously in favor. We'll hear from Mr. Connor.